Hi guys, it's another driving video. So Mom, if you're watching this, you can turn it off now because I'm actually driving. I haven't made one of these in a while, and I think even knowing that is why I want to make one now, because we've had a timeline shift and there's lots going on, and I think it's taken us a long time to get used to the jump. I know I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted, and I needed to sleep. I didn't want to talk to anybody. So I don't understand how all this works. All I know is that we're coming more in alignment with who we are becoming. And it's great. It really, really is great. What I know for sure is that authenticity will stand to you. That egotistical, narcissistic behavior is not acceptable from anybody. And that we cannot accept that in ourselves. So today I was reading, I think it was chapter 28 of Transformation, which is the middle novel of my trilogy. I'm making the audiobook, and in there she's in class and they're talking about self-care. And you know, to really understand that self-care is not selfish. And I'm thinking, oh, that links to the whole ego thing, where there's selfishness and wanting something for the sake of wanting it, wanting something to the detriment of somebody else. But then there's also the counterbalance to that, where you're not looking after yourself enough, you're not taking the rest, saying no to the phone calls. Doing what I did last week was self-care, not making videos, not speaking to people. So we need to upgrade the level of our self-care to mind ourselves, which basically, you know, is an opportunity now for you to look at what you're doing for self-care, what you think self-care is. And Marissa, who's the main character in my novel, realizes that having a cup of tea out in the garden and taking a few minutes for herself is actually self-care. You know, it makes me think of all my friends who smoke cigarettes. I used to take cigarette breaks with them without smoking because I needed the break. I'm thinking, okay, how can you take a cigarette break if you're not smoking a cigarette? Well, we need to take those self-care breaks, so maybe we need to just factor those in to the day. I'm taking a breathing break. I'm taking a mindfulness moment. I'm taking a self-care break. But to come back to the narcissism and the ego, I want to just make it very clear how I see the ego. The ego is a structure of our psyche. It's a structure. And with that structure, it allows us to function in the world. So when people say kill the ego, it's going to turn you into a blob of something that's just not going to be able to function in the world. It's being egotistical is what you don't want. Being selfish is what you don't want. It's doing things for your own agenda. It's roughshotting over people, deliberately hurting them because you don't care. And there are people out there who are doing that, and there are structures out there that are doing that. And as we move into the newer levels of consciousness, this is all about not doing that anymore. It's all about our voices coming together to say this is not acceptable. And, you know, giving people the choice, allowing them to do things that you wouldn't do, and respecting that. You know, if you want respect, then you have to give respect, but then you can accept it back as well. So I'm rambling a little bit now. I think what I wanted to say really was, you know, there's a lot coming out. A lot of this narcissistic behavior is becoming a lot more obvious. A lot of lies that are being told are becoming more obvious. You know, you can look at things and say, oh, that's ridiculous. That's just intolerable. That's not acceptable. And you're allowed to say no to things, and that's self-care. So taking time for you is very important. Doing stuff you love, things that uplift you. And know that we have had a blast of cosmic energy that's shaken us to our core and bringing up all the lies that's been in our bodies. And for those of us who's been working, doing our own work, that's still difficult, but not as difficult as it has been for, say, people who haven't done that yet and don't want to do it. So yeah, it's an exciting journey. It really is. And there's so many voices saying so many different things, but when you come back to your heart and you do the best you can for you and for the rest of the world, and being generous when you can, and saying no if you have to, without being guilty about it. We're here to unwind those old patterns that says, looking after you is selfish. Let's really redefine egotistical, selfish self-care. And if we all looked after ourselves better, then we wouldn't be needing someone else to do it, and we wouldn't be sacrificing parts of ourselves for that other person in exchange for them to look after us, because we're responsible and we can look after ourselves now. So yeah, that's me for today. Hope you enjoyed. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know if there's anything that I haven't covered here that you think is also relevant. Because if we're going to be becoming the masters of our lives, we're going to be responsible adults who have egos, who are not interested in killing our egos, but we're not becoming egotistical. We are altruistic, paying it forward, being generous, and having the openness to allow other people, to come into our space, but then also having that boundary where we say, okay, I need to now clear my space. I think it's really exciting to think that we are all going to be living like that all together, and it's going to make it possible to do so much. So sending you lots of love. And Mom, it's okay, you can watch now.